Hey guys, welcome to a new episode of Beauty Beacons. Today we are finally going to talk about the much requested Eleanor of Aquitaine. Honestly, I wasn't sure whether to make this a Beauty Beacons episode or just a Beauty Beacons of Fiction episode, because so much of what is kind of told about Eleanor and the stories about her and how she is depicted in media is in fact just legend and things that have no real basis in kind of historical evidence. Most importantly, and this is also the reason why it took me so long to finally film a video on her, we don't actually know what she looked like. So I'll get to all of that later, but let's begin by telling you what we do know of Eleanor of Aquitaine. She was the Queen Consort of France in the first half of the 12th century and the Queen Consort of England in the second half of the 12th century. Eleanor was born to the Duke of Aquitaine. As his son passed away and he only had 2 daughters remaining, Eleanor became the Duchess of Aquitaine at a very young age. She was somewhere between 12 and 15 years old. For her safety, it was important that Eleanor got married as soon as possible. So her father, just before dying, entrusted her into the care of the King of France, Louis VI at the time, who quickly decided to marry his firstborn son and heir to Eleanor to create this kind of super powerful alliance between Aquitaine and France. So the two were married, and it didn't take long at all for Louis VI to pass away and for his son Louis VII and Eleanor to become the King and Queen of France. The marriage started out fine, but after a couple of years started to get strained as the couple started having disagreements and failed to produce a male heir. Eleanor and Louis had 2 daughters only, and after they went on a crusade together, the Second Crusade, during which Eleanor is rumored to have had an affair with her uncle, they had the marriage annulled. So very shortly after this marriage was annulled, it took only 8 weeks, Eleanor married Henry II of England, who was then the prince, and again, it didn't take very long for them to become the King and Queen of England. This second marriage of Eleanor's was much more successful in terms of producing heirs. She had 8 children in total with Henry, but it wasn't a very happy marriage either. Henry had many mistresses, one of which was Fair Rosamond, who is another historical figure who just became a legend. She is for sure Henry II's most famous mistress, and there are many tales, rumors of Eleanor murdering Rosamond one way or another, either by poison or by stabbing her out of spite, because Henry was quite openly engaging in a relationship with Rosamond. However, Eleanor murdering Rosamond is very unlikely, as she was in fact imprisoned at the time. Henry had her imprisoned after she aided his son, Henry as well, in rebelling against his father. So in 1168, Eleanor was allowed to govern her own property in Poitiers, and this is where another kind of myth surrounding her originates, and that is that of the courts of love. Eleanor of Aquitaine is said to have run, along with her daughter and a few of their kind of noble friends, a court that was kind of the basis of good manners and courtly love in courts all across Europe. So it is said that they would act as kind of judges over marital conflicts or just conflicts of love, questions of love in general, and people would come there to ask for advice and solutions to their kind of marital problems, and that there were very kind of firm rules of behavior established there that are the basis for a certain code of conduct amongst the European nobility. So out of all these stories, kind of the most likely to be true is the one about having the rules for behavior set at this court, but all of the other things are again pretty hard to prove historically. So her time in Poitiers was in fact before her imprisonment, and Eleanor's imprisonment lasted 16 years until the death of her husband Henry II, by which time his successor, Eleanor's son, had her released from imprisonment. Eleanor acted as Queen Dowager of England for a while before eventually taking the veil, becoming a nun, and then passing away at the very respectable age of 80 years. Now, of course, she was a queen in the high Middle Ages. We don't have that many sources on her appearance, and we actually don't have any specific sources at all. The only descriptions, contemporary descriptions we have of her are that she was just beautiful. Doesn't necessarily mean much, because that was a pretty normal thing to say about any lady in a high standing position, but I think we can assume that she was at least very charming. The only really reliable image that we have of her is her tomb effigy at Fontevraud Abbey, and that tells us pretty much nothing. It is so generic, I guess. Like, it could have been of anyone, and we don't get to see her hair or eyes because her eyes are closed and her hair is covered by a headdress. Other images that we have of her are either as unspecific as her effigy or made much later after her death, and I'm talking a couple of 100 years, so definitely not based on eyewitness accounts, and also inconsistent because they all look completely different. So I guess what it comes down to is that we have no idea what she looked like. Of course, that's not a very good place to start a Beauty Beacons video with, but I have decided to, take on the challenge anyways, because she is much requested and it's been a while since I did anything medieval on this channel. So I have decided to go for a kind of generic 12th century French nobility look, a hairstyle corresponding to that time period and that location, and just very minimal makeup, because I am pretty certain she wouldn't have worn makeup at that time in history. Yeah, we're just gonna do it. Let's get started with the makeup. And for that, I'm going to begin with a little bit of tinted moisturizer. I have a BB cream right here that I'm just going to use to kind of even out my skin tone without looking too heavy or caked on. Now, completely according to the beauty ideal of the time, this BB cream is a little bit lighter than my own skin tone, so I look nice and pale. But that does mean I need to blend it out a little bit better into my own skin, so I'm going to take this down my neck and even onto my collarbones a little bit to make it not as noticeably mask-like, I guess. So next I'm just going in with a little bit of concealer under my eyes to cover up my dark circles, and I'm just gonna pat that in with my finger. So next up, I'm just going to take this cheek and lip stain and I'm going to apply this very minimally, but it's just going to act as, something to give me a little bit of color in my face so that I don't look so completely pale. So I'm going to apply a little bit of that on my cheeks and on my lips as well to just give a little bit of a flush of color. Now we're already almost there. Last thing I'm going to do is take an eyebrow gel, and I'm going to use this to make my eyebrows look as thin as possible. I definitely don't want to color them in, because in the Middle Age, and especially around this period, having as little hair on your face as possible was the beauty ideal, and women would regularly pretty much just go to town with tweezers on their face. They would pluck out most of their eyebrows and often even a little strip of hair on their forehead to make their foreheads appear larger, because that was the beauty ideal at the time and just the fashion. So I'm gonna comb the top of my eyebrows down and the bottoms up to create an eyebrow that's as thin as possible. And there's the makeup already done. Super minimal. We pretty much don't want to make it look like we're wearing any makeup at all. So let's move on to the hair. Now, like I mentioned, I went for a 12th century French, early 12th century, that is, very important, French hairstyle here. And actually the early 12th century is the only period in the Middle Ages, very brief period, where for some reason women started to show their hair, because before and after this, pretty much all of women's hair is covered by a veil or a headscarf or headdress of some kind. But we're lucky here, because I feel like, having some hair to do is a little bit more interesting than just tying a headscarf. So I'm going for the very typical long braided look, which isn't in fact braided, but I'll get to that later. First thing I need is super long and thick hair. This is a time period where women actually would wear false hair. They would use other materials that resembled hair to use as extensions, or they would purchase the hair off of dead bodies. In any case, if the lady's own hair was insufficient, they would not shy away from using extensions, which the church greatly disapproved of, as pretty much any beauty enhancing ritual at the time. So I can use my extensions as well. These are super long. They come down to my hips, and I'm gonna apply these all throughout my hair to make it longer and thicker. So when I've done that, I'm going to comb everything through really well to make this combine with my own hair and just tangle free. And then I'm going to separate my hair into two sections, bring them across my shoulders to the front, and then tie them into two ponytails at the nape of my neck. So then I'm going to take a long piece of ribbon that is about 1.5 times the size or the length of my ponytail, and I'm going to tie this to the top of my hair elastic here on the top of my ponytail. Then I'm going to split my ponytail into two sections, and I'm going to start wrapping my ribbon around the two strands of hair in a kind of figure 8 shape. It's almost like braiding, but not exactly, because I'm going to make sure the ribbon is flat at all times, so I'm actually wrapping it instead of braiding it, and that gives that very typical early 12th century hair look, which in my opinion is absolutely gorgeous, and I would not mind if this became a trend right now, 2019. I love this. So I'm going to work my way all the way down. It takes a while, but the results are worth it. And then at the bottom, I'm going to cheat again and just use a hair elastic to tie this off. It would have been probably tied by some kind of metal clasp or a just piece of thread or silk. So I'm just going to tie it off and then wrap the ribbon around the hair elastic to hide it. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side with the other ponytail. And when that is done, I decided to add a veil after all, because even in this time period, married women would have covered their hair in some way, but they would have had the braids kind of sticking out from underneath. So you guys know I try to avoid purchasing new things that I will only use for one video because of the whole kind of, you know, waste reducing conscious consumerism thing that I'm doing. So I tried to work with something I had, and this scarf, this hand-painted silk scarf, is the closest thing I could find to something that resembles a medieval veil. So excuse the green blotches, that's definitely not historically correct. You probably want to use something that's made of more like a linen type material probably, and definitely all white or cream colored. But I'm going to drape this across my head and then secure it with this little ribbon thing that is the closest thing I could find that slightly resembles a circlet or a crown. Normally this would have been held down by a, again, circlet or crown made of some type of precious metal, preferably gold of course for Eleanor. My ribbon's gonna have to do, apologies. And there we have it, the finished result of approximately how Eleanor of Aquitaine might have looked in her younger years. I feel like despite the completely incorrect things that I used, of course, I do really like this look. And I feel like this is a nice place to start if you want to wear a medieval look for a party or an event. Something similar to this might be very useful for you, you know, to use as a reference guide. So I really hope you enjoyed this episode of Beauty Beacons, guys. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel for loads more episodes and other beauty and lifestyle content. If you have any requests for historical beauty icons, real or fictional, that you would like me to recreate the looks of, please feel free to leave a request in the comment below, and I will look through, pick one out for next time. If you'd like to support me on Patreon, there's a link in the description box below. Thank you so much for your support, guys. There's another video here that I think you might also enjoy. You can go watch next. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon in my next video. Bye!